So this video here is going to cover the ultimate deliverability checklist. So whenever you want to send cold outreach, make sure that you can tick all these boxes before you start sending, because this is going to determine whether or not you can land in the primary inbox and avoid the spam folder. So let's start out from the top here. The first thing you want to do is you want to have a decentralized infrastructure. And I think most people know that these days, but there are still people sending emails from their main company domain, which is a very bad idea because, first of all, when the ESPs, which is the email service providers, Google and Microsoft, when they see that one domain is sending like 500 emails a day, they're going to flag that domain and all your emails are going to land in spam. And now you've ruined your main domain. So there's a huge risk associated with it and it's not scalable at all. So what you want to do is you want to set up a bunch of secondary domains that you just acquire from a domain provider like GoDaddy or Squarespace or Porkbun. And you want to set up email accounts under each domain and you want to connect them to a sending automation tool. And you can still have the same branding. You can make the domain name very similar to your main domain and you can even forward it to your main domain, but you don't want to be sending from your actual main domain. So this is the first step, is having this sort of decentralized infrastructure. And also what you want to do is with all these domains that you set up, you want to configure the DNS settings in the correct way. And there's 100 different guides on that. You can just search for how to set up email DNS so you don't land in spam, right? It's called DMARC record, DKIM record, SPF record. And so you need to set these things up. It's not that difficult to do, but you need to do that under each domain. The next thing you want to do is once you get the actual email licenses. So there's two levels here. There's the email account level and the domain level. So the DNS records, this is on the domain level. But when it comes to setting up the actual email licenses, which is what will give you the alias, the actual email account itself, you need licenses. And the way we get licenses is at ScaleSprint, we have a specific partner that we use for this purpose that provides the licenses, and they've been very consistent and they've had super high deliverability performance. So you can use a reseller or you can use another trusted provider. And this is where you got to be a bit careful. You really have to vet the company that you use for this purpose, because if you use the wrong company, you can end up with accounts that just completely burn immediately. So you got to do some research here, or you can just work with a company like us, and we've already done the due diligence for you, and we can immediately set this up. Now, the next thing is setting up 2 to 4 email accounts under each domain. You don't want to set up more than that, because deliverability mostly is determined on the domain level. So if one domain is blacklisted, it will actually affect all the email accounts under that domain. And what that means is we don't want to set up too many email accounts under one domain, because then if that domain gets blacklisted, all the email accounts just die overnight. So you need to take this into account. You need to set up around 2 to 4 email accounts under each domain. You want to be sending 30 emails per day per account. And that's just kind of, there's not really any, I would say, science behind it, because it always changes. But this is just a number that we've been sticking with, is 30 emails per day. I know that there are some people sending 50, there are some people sending 10. There's no real consensus on this, but we've found that 30 is a pretty good middle ground in terms of what's being said out there. Then you also want to do 2 to 4 weeks of warm up. And if you don't know what warm up is, it's essentially just a pool of different email accounts that are sending emails back and forth to increase their mutual sending reputation before you start sending cold emails. And this is something that is provided on tools like Instantly.ai, SmartLead. They have features for this purpose, so you can just directly do this with no technical background or anything. You can just set it up with a simple click of a button, and then your emails are warming up. Then what you want to do is you want to randomize sending intervals. So you don't want to send, imagine the sending automation is going out and it's sending one email per email account exactly 1 hour apart. This looks very robotic from the point of view of the algorithm. And it's like this email is just sending out emails like a robot. So it's probably a robot. So you want to set up randomized intervals. This is a feature they have on Instantly.ai, for example, where you can just randomize the sending patterns and you don't have to worry about the sending pattern looking robotic, right? So it looks like a human because it's randomized. The next thing is to do warm-up emails while you're sending cold emails, right? So you don't want to just completely shut off your warm-up emails when you launch. You want to still have them on, and you want to send, this is kind of my opinion, is you want to do 1-to-1. So for every cold email you send per day, you need to be sending one warm-up email as well. And typically you want to put a very high reply rate, ideally 70% reply rate on your warm-up emails, because that is going to counterbalance the lower reply rate you're going to have on your cold emails. The next thing is rotating inboxes. So basically what you want to do is you want to have, let's say you want to send from 50 accounts. Okay, but you should set up 100, because then you can have 50 email accounts live at any given time. And then the other 50 email accounts that we set up, so 100 in total, the other 50 accounts, they're going to be warming up. And then you switch them back and forth on a bi-weekly basis. And what this means is that all your accounts will only be sending cold emails 2 weeks at a time. Then there's a pause, then they get back to cold emails. And what this is going to do is it's going to basically, it's going to mean that the manual spam reports that you get once you do your emails, once you send out your emails, are going to be basically less meaningful, because you have periods of time where there are zero spam reports, if that makes sense, right? So we want to basically take them out of that cold email sequencing just once in a while, because that's going to increase the health of the domain. We also have the next one here, which is avoiding spam words. So certain words will trigger like the spam filters, right? And some obvious ones are, if you say like, if you include large numbers, if you include like the dollar sign, if you include buy now or something like that, or click here, or something that basically tells the email server that this is probably cold outreach, or this could be phishing, or this could be something like that, right? And what I've heard from talking to a lot of people in the space is that even some common words are starting to become spam words. Like if you say AI in an email like multiple times, it's probably going to land in spam, because the email service providers know that there are so many like cold emails selling AI stuff now. So if an email says AI, well, it could probably be spam. So this is something you got to take into account, and you don't have to obsess over it, but you can use a tool like Mail Meteor, and you can search for Mail Meteor spam word checker. And then you can basically see if you have like too many spam words, remove the ones that are unnecessary, and then launch after that. You don't have to overthink it too much, because sometimes it's really hard to avoid. The next thing is spin tags, which is essentially, it's short for syntax spinning, and it means that certain words in the email will be randomized. And this means that you're not sending the exact same email every time you're sending a cold email. And this is again going to make it look more human. Like no person sends the exact same email 100 times per day. So spin tags is going to help with that. It's going to help you look human. And also what you want to do is you want to avoid copy fatigue, essentially. So what happens is that even when you have spin tags, the email servers can start to see patterns that you're sending very similar emails very frequently, and it says that you're probably a spammer. So what you want to do is, on a bi-weekly basis, you want to switch up your copies. You don't have to switch up the offer or anything, but just switch up the structure, make it look different, make it look like it's completely new copies, add another layer of spin tags, and then that is going to help you avoid copy fatigue on the domain level. The next thing is avoiding links and HTML. This is pretty common knowledge now. You're not supposed to be sending links and any sort of HTML in your email. In some cases, there are exceptions. Like if you sending a link means that you're getting like a 50% positive reply rate, then the decline in deliverability might actually be worth it. So again, you have to make a decision on that. But for the most part, the common advice here is to avoid links in HTML. The next thing is avoiding open rate tracking and CTR tracking. And again, this is for the same reason, because if you track these, you're going to have to basically install a pixel of sorts inside the email, which is a hidden image. And this is going to trigger the spam filters as well if you do that. And open rate tracking is not that accurate anyways. So I would avoid this in pretty much all circumstances. The next one is avoiding manual spam reports. So you want to basically structure your email such that it doesn't make people want to report it to spam. Some of the things that can make people do that is if you have an email that is sort of rude, is what I've found. If you have an email that's kind of rude, that will make people report it to spam. And also, if it's not relevant, they're going to report it to spam. And so these are things you want to take into account. You got to basically ask yourself, if you receive that email, would you view it as spam? Like very objectively, would you view it as spam? If the answer is yes, you might have to change something. So this is something you have to think about. There's no like real science behind it where I can tell you exactly what to do to avoid it. But you just got to ask yourself that question before you send the email, which is, would I report this to spam? And this also ties into the next point, which is just make a better offer, make better copies. If the outreach is good, if the outreach is high quality and it's well targeted, well, the number of manual spam reports you will get are a lot lower. They're substantially lower than if you were to send some junk to random people. So again, really important. Next one is verify your lists. So use a good email verification tool like Million Verifier and avoid all the non-valids and catch-alls. So that's my recommendation. Some people do like to go through extra steps to verify their catch-all emails. I pretty much just avoid them and only send to the ones that are just valid according to the email tool. Next one is better lists. So make your lists more targeted. I have videos on the channel about this where you can basically use AI to pre-qualify the list that you're sending to. You can also do spot checking, like checking random leads on the list to see if they're qualified. And the reason why this matters is because if you send to a bunch of irrelevant people, they're going to report you to spam. So having better list hygiene and better list quality is going to also improve deliverability. The last one is to have a system in place to actually monitor deliverability, because you can do all these things here, but if you're not monitoring it, it's not going to matter because you don't know if there are deliverability issues. So this is probably a video in and of itself to talk about how to monitor email deliverability. But this is something that you have to do. So I might make a video about that as well. So if you want to work with Scale Sprint and you want to have us set up your entire cold outreach system, I've been in cold outreach for 4 years. I've sent over 10 million cold emails. So we implement the best possible system you can get for 2026 directly inside your business. You can check out scalesprint.io and the link in the description and pinned comments, and you can have a look at it. So thanks for watching and have a good day.